a meeting to order. We'll call the meeting to order September 28, 22, the Finance Committee. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Which we can do that. You would have to bring us the mail, and that's how we would pay it directly.
Okay, no changes. Need approval of the minutes, or if no one has any problem with the way it's distributed, they're automatically approved. Does anyone have any issues with the minutes from the last meeting?
I'm good with it.
I'm good with them.
Okay. Public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would make a comment about basically anything?
I think Deb Hess is in the witness protection program.
Okay, then Dave, we'll get right into the financial statement.
Thank you, Gene. So it might take me just a second to get to where I need to go. It's right there. Okay, so we're going to start on the statistics page 2. And the one thing that jumped out at me this month, in the month of August, 2 months into the new fiscal year, we had a average length of stay, line 15, which since COVID's been, we need to stay under 4 as a critical access hospital's been over 4, and we've got a waiver, so we're okay there. But interestingly, this was the first month I can remember seeing in a long time that on our own that the length of stay was below 4 at 3.8 for the month of August. So that's a good sign in terms of the compliance issues eventually when that waiver goes away. At least for this current month, we were at below the threshold. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the ER staying strong. The volumes here and the visits over 600, 607, real close to budget, and then year to date continuing to be over budget and fairly close to last year's numbers. So ER continues to look good. The other one on my notes to comment on was line 42, the retail pharmacy scripts. According to the statistic, it looks like we're quite a bit under on the volume, but I continue to caveat that with by reporting on what the actual revenues are telling us on the retail pharmacy. And I'm pleased to report that year to date, we are 2% over budget on revenues. And compared to last year, we're up 10% for the first 2 months year to date compared to the first 2 months of last year. So I'm not seeing any problem with volumes in retail pharmacy, even though this particular statistic would look like we're quite a bit off budget. It's based on,
they're converting more scripts to 90-day scripts than they were before.
So it's probably apples and oranges, and we're going to have to try to figure out a way to show this statistic in the same type of calculation as historical based on the new way.
We may need just to focus on the revenue.
Yeah, that's what I gotta say. Show us the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the main thing is I don't want anybody to be concerned because we're in good shape as far as I can see on the revenue side on the retail pharmacy.
Clinic looks like it's still doing well too.
Yeah,
so.
clinic is also doing very well. Line 37, you can see the 1515 compared to the budget of 1394, and better than budget on the year-to-date numbers as well. The next page, I'm going to jump up to page 4, and the adjusted financial strength index of 3.12 is still really high. It's in the excellent category, but it is down from the last few months. It was as high as 3.77 a few months ago, but we're still in good shape, still at a real good number, but not quite as good as it was a few months ago. If you look at our projected year-end number for bottom line net income, $3,763,000 is not as good as budget, but real comparable to the last 3 years in terms of a strong bottom line, but we do have a very aggressive budget this year. That's so far our projections look like they're going to fall a little bit short over the first 2 months, which is still early in the fiscal year. The next item to report on is the trend. If you look at how some of these monthly trends are happening, we spoke on how the 3.12 is starting to come down on the financial strength index from prior months, but you can see how it's still significantly better than the other months over the last 13. Net income stays above the line, above zero. We only had one losing month in here, actually two, and we've had some really good months to finish the year and some just so-so months, the first 2 months of the new fiscal year, but still healthy bottom line. ER visits staying strong over the 600 since looks like April. Acute days fell way off in June, but it is starting to rebound, and I think September's even going to be better than this 95 number because we really got busy in the acute side recently. Skilled nursing kind of in the same mid to upper 40s census, so still not a whole lot of improvement on the skilled nursing. I wanted to take a little bit of time on days of cash on hand to just make reference to the fact that this trend that we would project I did not update this to the new 35 million number. This was based on the 19 million number that you can see. If our project cost was 19.6, we would project by the end of the completion of the project, we would be down to 64 days of cash. That obviously would be a significantly less number. And in fact, it would go into the negative. We would not be able to have any cash if it went from 19 million to 35 million. So we would obviously need to find other sources to fund the project other than just what we have in the bank currently. The next item that I want to spend some time on that has a potential to be a source of confusion on part of the board, because I've been reporting this cash all sources number, which is different than what we historically talk about when we talk about cash. The potential confusion is that the number you see here, you shouldn't come to the conclusion that this is the amount available for the project. This 24,174,000 has to include the normal operating cash that you need to run the hospital, which is anywhere from 4 to 6 million. So when you see that number, don't think that that's the number that's available. Even though technically it is available, we would still need a regular source of funds for normal operations, which is about 4 to 6 million. So it's not all of that 24 million that could be spent in practical terms on the construction. It's a little bit less than that. And I just wanted to make sure you understood that.
If we started paying late 90 days, like at one point we were, then that would probably be a more correct figure.
Well, I don't know if that would be enough to make up the difference in terms of the AP being higher. It would, obviously some of our cash is a little bit lower because we're paying our bills faster, but that's not going to be $4 to $6 million. It's probably maybe 500,000 to 750 or something, but it still would help, definitely. The other thing I wanted to point out is if you look at the comparison on how we finished 2 months ago at the end of June, 25,405,000. This number is about 1.3 million less than it was 2 months ago. And that's understandable because when we get later on, you're going to see our IGT cash coming in the first 2 months has been zero. And we expect to average about 800,000 a month throughout the year on IGT cash. So if, for example, we would have hit our averages on IGT, that would have added another 1.6 million to the cash number, which would have put us actually better than the amount we finished in the prior fiscal year if we would have had 2 months of average IGT payments. So it's kind of it's lower, but it's lower as expected because of the timing on when we expect
The timing issue,
the
yeah.
IGTs to come in.
Yeah.
So the next thing I want to talk about is moving to the income statement. And what we see here is the month of August was slower than budget, 3.66 on line 6, gross patient revenue. That's the variance, negative variance on gross patient revenue as a percentage. So we continue not to hit our targets in terms of the levels of volume in all the areas combined, especially with the skilled and the GI and the surgery increases that we put in the budget haven't materialized yet. So that's partly why we're seeing slightly less than budget on the revenue side. So all those numbers trickle down into a unfavorable line 13 total operating revenue of 92,415 below budget because of the slower volumes. And then on top of that, we had some higher expenses. This is really professional fees. Physician fees isn't probably the right term, but we did have legal costs on that line 17 that was about 80,000 in a settlement that you guys may be aware of that we reported on last month. The legal settlement had to be booked. I think we had 50,000 in the budget and for that, and it was spread over 12 months. So the 1 month hit on the legal side causes the 65,000 unfavorable variance on this line 17. And next month I'll change this description to say professional fees, which is physician fees is a big part of it, but also includes legal fees. The purchase services was also higher due to some timing of invoices that came in for the billing department, as they've been spending a little bit of extra money getting the AR down, and it's been a good investment, but that number should level off and they should get back closer to budget by the end of the year. It was mostly due to the timing of when the invoices came in. So overall, we did exceed budget by 24,000 on the operating expenses, mostly due to the $80,000 legal settlement. Everything else seems to be in line. We had positive surplus and a positive bottom line totaling 220,000, but we didn't hit budget of 335, which kind of shows up when we looked at the graph earlier. The monthly IGT number was 0. Last year we had 411,000 in IGT. Going to year-to-date picture, the first 2 months have been similar, July and August. So our year-to-date is kind of double what July is in terms of being a little bit below budget, but being positive. You can see our operating surplus as a 178,632 negative variance. We're not hitting budget on that line item. Yes, you have a question? No. And then bottom line, still healthy, almost $500,000 to the bottom line after 2 months, but 184,000 off budget. The IGT year to date 0. It certainly doesn't help the cash flow, but we expect 11 million by the end of the year. And that's an important number to keep an eye on to reach. The other thing I wanted to point out on a positive note, line 20, utilities. For the year, the first 2 months, as we know, we made an investment in improving the utility, the way our utilities and the electricity is more efficient than it was with the construction that occurred a couple of years ago. Well, we are seeing some benefit. Even though rates are higher than it was a year ago, our total expense for the first 2 months, 108,956, compared to last year's first 2 months was 118,000. So we are starting to see that utility number come down, even though we know it was very, very hot month. So we should feel good about the fact that we're doing the best we can in managing those utility costs.
Tesla probably helped quite a bit on that, right, Tim?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, that Tesla improvement really made a difference. So the next thing I wanted to jump to is the accounts receivable. And that's another favorable trend. We had a good month. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. So our gross AR a month ago was 26,761,000, came down a couple $2 million down to 24,629,000. So gross AR is down in the month of August compared to July. We had a very good month in collections, 2.3 million. Last year we averaged about 1.8 million. So you can see the first 2 months of this new fiscal year is much higher than what we've been averaging, because we're bringing the AR down and getting accounts paid. We are now at a more reasonable number in terms of hitting some of our targets. This was a preliminary target that I set up when we were at 100 days. We did hit that. So next month, I'm going to show you a new target going back to a different period when we were in the 60s, as we start really increasing the expectations of the department to get back to where we think we can eventually be. But you can see, at least right now, we did hit this preliminary target of 77.6 AR. You want lower the better, and we're at 75.3 gross days in AR. The last comment I wanted to make is this cash flow report, and I'm going to move this over so I can see the far right 2 columns is what I'm focusing in on, and I want to find the green number, which is the ending cash number. So what's important to me on this cash flow is when I project out how we're going to finish the end of this current fiscal year compared to what we budgeted in terms of ending cash balances. And that's a big part of how I define success or failure, is whether we finish the year with more money in the bank than we thought we were going to have. In this case, our projected number in the second to far right column is a number that's higher than the budgeted number. So so based on what we see so far in this fiscal year, we're seeing a projection of 25,089,000 compared to the budget that was approved at 24,553,000. So about $500,000 better than what we thought we'd finish the year. But it is early in the fiscal year. But right now, there's nothing that has jumped out at us the first 2 months that has not put us in a mindset that we're not going to hit our targets, at least on the cash projections. It still looks like we're in good shape. So that's pretty much, I probably went too fast today, but anyway, that was all I had for August. Similar than, not a whole lot of new topics than what we had in July, pretty similar to the month of July. Any questions or comments?
One question. If we were nicer to you, would we make more money?
I have to tell you, what really makes the big difference for me is with my personal situation that Tim is allowing me to do this job mostly remote, and that is really added to my satisfaction as an employee. And I really feel blessed to have this job.
Yeah, it was a good move. You're doing great.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess with that, Barbara, are you up next on the vendor aging?
Yes. the vendor list attached. They're all current. The total is $9,992. Nothing out of the ordinary. Do you have any questions on any of them?
Nope.
We are
Does
keeping
your
them all
hands-
current.
Yeah, what's the address?
Your hands have cramps from writing all those checks out on time?
I don't have to write them.
Cramps from
I know.
signing them all.
You're doing great, Barbara. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so next is
Right, and you're just looking
Barbara, I
at-
guess the contract review.
Yes. There are quite a few contracts on this list this time. I don't know if anybody, hopefully everybody had a chance to look at them, if they had any particular questions on any of them. Several of the managers have responded and are returning their compliance forms.
Are there any?
Healthcare marketing, that's something that Deb Hess uses, but she will be canceling that at the end of the year. She has to give a 60-day notice, and she intends to do that before it renews.
Okay. Delta Liquid, what is that?
I'm just looking at that too. I don't know. I've not seen that before.
I believe it's one of the,
Apartments.
I
Roof was replaced. Do you have any?
don't know if it's apartment. It might be the new building, the Kissick building.
I talked with Bob. He was gonna go ahead and get that switched over to
And then
Kern River.
the phone number.
Oh, okay,
He hasn't said anything, so I don't know.
Yeah, he and I had talked about that. We want to switch it over to get it on our other account.
okay, well, that's fine. You answered my question, Barbara. Thank you. Everything else I looked at, I didn't see anything I had an issue with.
Okay, then, thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, is that it?
I think we set a record today for timing.
Oh,
Take us a little bit of time to run
well,
through
you did
all
good.
of
Thank you, everyone. Barbara, do you have anything? Catherine.
I do not, but
You should definitely-
yeah, the meetings were, it was very pleasant. Thanks, Jean. And I mean, I don't want to,
We'll get to work.
point any fingers or anything.
Don't get
but-
him started, Kath.
Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. And I think that things are looking good. I know we got, always something going on with the building and stuff, but Bob seems to be doing, I don't know, I think he aspires to be a CFO or something with all those numbers. But anyway, no, I don't have any questions. I'm pleased with the way things are going right now, other than the sniff, but that's just kind of
Work in
my
progress.
thing.
It's going, it's coming, it's working. Anyway, hey, thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
You're
everybody.
welcome. All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.